Isn't it fun to see how animated they are with the music that it does to their bodies? So, in Advent, there are 4 Sundays. Each Sunday has a theme: hope, and peace, and love. And today, the theme that I'm thinking about is joy. Sounds innocent enough, doesn't it? So the preacher turns to the lectionary in one of the years of the 3-year cycle, the year when the gospel is Matthew, for the Sunday of joy. And, well, for God's sake, listen to the scripture. Now, when Jesus had finished instructing his 12 disciples, he went out from there to teach and proclaim his message in their cities. When John the Baptist, who was in prison, heard what the Messiah was doing, he sent word by his own disciples and said to Jesus, "Are you the one who is to come, or are we to wait for another?" Jesus answered them, "Go and tell John what you hear and see. The blind receive their sight, the lame walk, the lepers are cleansed, the deaf hear, the dead are raised, and the poor have good news brought to them." Here ends the reading of God's word.
Stop!
Wow. Who is that?
This is God.
Hey, I always knew you were a woman. That's so cool. But wait, why do I have to stop?
Because you didn't finish. You left out verse 6.
I don't want to read verse 6. It's too upsetting. It's Christmas time.
Read verse 6. That is a direct order.
Gosh! Verse 6. And blessed are those who take no offense at me. Let us pray. Really, God? Come on. Who could possibly take offense at Jesus? Amen. Amen. You know what? Babies are lovable. They are just so easy to love. They just really get us, don't they? There's something. I remember an incident that happened when my children were young. Erin was 7 or 8 and was working on a school project that matched each child in her class with a student at Winthrop College, a nearby college there in Rock Hill, South Carolina. I would take Erin to one of the dorms, all female, and the student would take Erin to a class, and I would wait for them to finish sitting there in the lobby of the dorm for about an hour and a half. And while I waited, many of the students, all women, going to class, coming from class, would pass very close to where I was, the front door near to where I sat. Now, I got that I wasn't Robert Redford, okay? But I was dressed well. I had brushed my teeth. I was as presentable as possible, given what I had worked with. You understand what I'm saying? When one of them came in the door, a friendly person that I tried to be, I would look up expectantly, even hopefully, ever the engaged pastor. Yet not one person stopped or even looked at me. Ooh. As a matter of fact, it seemed like there was a bubble of avoidance surrounding me. It cut a wide arc around where I sat. I tried not to take this personally and was not successful. A week later, I was there again, but this time I had taken Jeremy, our son. He was a baby. Not quite crawling. He had on those tiny bib overalls, little white shoes, big blonde curly hair, round blue eyes. Y'all remember, some of you, the Gerber baby? Supposedly the perfect baby? Forget about it. Jeremy took cute to another whole altitude. It was amazing. And I tell you, this time, flashing like radar. One of them, oh, Jennifer, there's the baby! And it spread around, and it was like, whoosh! And they were just surrounded. It's a baby. Oh, look, it's a baby. It's just so cute. Oh, he's so cute. One of them finally noticed me. I thought it took too long. What's his name? She asked. Jeremy, I replied, trying to sound humble. He's adorable. Thank you, I said, hoping they would remark how very much Jeremy took after me. And then when Aaron came down, I took a magazine and made a bullhorn and announced to the teeming crowd, I'm sorry, but we have to leave now. If you could just make a passageway. And they parted, kind of like the Red Sea. And Aaron and I felt like Moses as we made our way through the throngs of adoring women. And I said to her, wow, babies are so easy to love. It was the same way with Jesus, you know. Jesus came as a baby, and oh, what a cute baby he was. Remember, away in the manger, no crib with the bed, the little Lord Jesus laid down his sweet head. The stars in the sky looked down where he lay, the little Lord Jesus asleep on the hay. Isn't he precious? So easy to love, just lying there. And you know what? We're all free, all of us. We're all free to imagine who Jesus will be when he grows up. Anyone can come to the manger, you know that, to love the baby Jesus. Why, look, there at the manger now, there's the grand dragon of the new Ku Klux Klan chapter in northern Minnesota. They say he's a real mainstay in his church. I wonder what he thinks, who he thinks Jesus will grow up to be. And there's Barack Obama. He's a Christian. And when he was president, he used drones, which killed innocent children. I wonder who he thinks Jesus grows up to be. And there's Donald Trump, also self-identifies as a Christian. His policies, if implemented, will take food security from millions and millions and millions of babies. I wonder who he thinks Jesus will grow up to be. And standing between them, Mother Teresa. She had an image of who Jesus would grow up to be. John the Baptist had an image too. John the Baptist. Now there was one crazy dude. There is no Greek word that I know of in the lexicon of the New Testament Greek for a wingnut. But if there was, it would have been used here. He lived in the wilderness, wore itchy camel hair and a leather girdle. He never made it to the cover of GQ magazine. And it gets worse. Know what he ate? Locust. I have an image of him, wild-eyed, running through the woods, swatting an insect. Oh, I got one. Locust wings on his cheek, hair that has never seen a brush. Now listen, in case he shows up today, do I have any volunteers to take him to lunch at Jensen's? And we haven't even gotten to the worst part. It was when he spoke. He wants his people to shape up and get ready for the coming Messiah. Here is the tactful way he began his sermon. You brood of vipers! I can tell you that not one of my homiletical professors ever suggested that we begin a sermon that way. He continued, you just wait. You think I'm bad. I baptize with water. But the one who comes after me will baptize with fire. He was talking about Jesus, of course. Do you see the image John the Baptist had of who Jesus would be? And no surprise, John gets thrown into jail. And he hears that Jesus is beginning his ministry, that his cousin, Jesus, just might be the one, the Messiah. So John's eager to hear what is happening, but he can't get there, so he sends one of his friends from prison. He sends him and says, go and see what Jesus is doing and come back and tell me. And the friend goes and comes back to report to John, and John says, now tell me about the fire of Jesus. And the friend says, well, John, I saw Jesus take some little children in the kingdom of God. And John said, go back and look and come and tell me what And so the friend went and he came back and John said, "Tell me about the fire of Jesus." And the friend said, "Well, John, I found Jesus in the company of some outcasts. He was violating the Torah by teaching women. And he was healing untouchable lepers and feeding hungry people." And John said, "That can't be all. Now go and see and come and tell me what else." And so the friend went and came, and John said, "Now tell me about the fire of Jesus." And the friend said, "Well, John, actually, Jesus was teaching and he said, 'Blessed are the peacemakers, no longer do vengeance, an eye for an eye, no more, but love your enemy.'" And John paused and rubbed his forehead, and then he said, "Go back to Jesus and ask him, 'Are you really the one who is to come, or did we make a mistake?'" There is something about Jesus, friends, that is offensive. The church through the ages has always had trouble with this. Wanting Jesus to toe the line, to meet their agenda, dressing Jesus up in unrecognizable costumes, leading crusades, authorizing wars, legitimizing slavery, oppressing women, authorizing the death penalty, and loving people only on the condition that they're straight. No. But the Spirit of the living Jesus will have none of that. That Spirit loves and includes everyone. The family of the murder victim and the person on death row. Jesus' love is messy, it is meddling, and it's just downright sometimes distasteful. Jesus says, "Go and tell John what you see and hear. I hug children. I love enemies. I forgive the unforgivable. I put my finger in the wax of the ears of the deaf and unplug them. I spit in my hands and rub it together and put it in the eyes of the blind so they can see. I touch the tongue of the mute and straighten it out so they can speak. I place my hand in the ooze of the leper's wound. And I call my followers to do the same." Dude, Jesus, you're making us a little uncomfortable here, man. This love defies our perceptions of reality and disturbs our sensibility. Let's just say it. Jesus' life and love and call to us offends. He offends because with Jesus' love, there are no categories. And we people have loved categories so much. Because if we can place ourselves in some category marked worthy, then we can avoid the one marked unworthy. Go and tell John what you see and hear. God's love is for everyone. It is for everyone. No one is excluded. Here's what that means. If your life is perfect and you feel completely accepted, if you are pregnant and don't know who the Father is, if you're homeless and haven't had a bath for a week, if you are in high school and failed all of your tests and think your life is the pits, if you've murdered someone and sit on death row, if you've been unfaithful to your partner or spouse or thought about it, if you've done something you just can't forgive yourself for, if you've become so convinced you're unlovable that life doesn't seem worth living, then hear me, hear me, hear me. You are forgiven, you are beloved, you are included, you are accepted beyond reckoning, and this is joy. Amen. Amen. And one of us is thinking, Gwin, that is a great place to end the sermon. Just go sit down. And I would, if it wasn't for God back there in verse 6. Joy is not joy without blessed offense that asks of us something. I've been to the mall, And I really stayed the whole time I was there in the spirit of things, the lights and the piped-in music and good old Santa and, of course, the shopping. But my favorite thing had been the manger. It was a live scene, very realistic, and Mary especially and the baby were just perfect. Seeing them had just, I can't tell you, it just filled me with a sense of love and goodwill. I felt so content and peaceful. Well, I left and made my way on back to a couple of other stores, and about 45 minutes later was leaving the mall, going out the door towards the parking lot, when there was a woman. She was all wrapped up against the cold, and she had one of those slings, a baby carrier with an infant in there, close to her chest, and she was begging. She was holding a crude sign, like she just made. You could actually still smell the magic mark that said, "No food stamps. Help." Well, unfortunately, my arms were so full of presents that I couldn't get to my wallet. But worse, the whole thing just ruined the mood I was in. Just ruined it. So I decided I'd go back to the manger to get kind of recharged. And when I got there, the live manger scene was still there. There were some animals and Joseph, but Mary and the baby were gone. There was a shopper standing there, and I said to him, "Hey man, where's Mary and the baby?" And he said, "I don't know. She was standing here a while ago and opened something and crumpled it up and threw it down there on the ground." I looked and there was something down there. It was a letter. I picked it up and straightened it out. It said, "We regret to inform you that your food stamps have been canceled." Do you have a phone? Could you find President Trump's number? Could you find Amy Klobuchar's number? Could you find Eric Paulson's number, or whoever your representative is, and call them? And tell them, it's just a short message. It's urgent, but just short. It's just 8 words. You can remember it. You don't even need to write it down. Tell them the Messiah has run out of baby.